Hello guys and welcome to part 5 of Hello Python tutorial series, and today we're going to be looking at operations, which are basic operations we do. Now I have my Jupyter lab running here, and we're going to be looking at how to use addition, subtraction, division, multiplication and modulus. Then we're going to also be looking at the end in-place assignments. So first of all, let's go to addition. Now we've already learned how to assign multiple values to multiple variable names in one line. So I've assigned A the value of 1 and I've assigned B the value of 2. Now we're going to use the addition operator, which is our basic plus sign, and I'm going to say add A to B, right? And what do we expect from this outcome? It's supposed to be 3, right? So let's clear our outputs here. Okay. So when we run that, we get 3 because 1 plus 2 is 3. So we can see that we can do additions using the variable names and not the values itself, because the variable names are just holding these values in them. So when you call the variable name, you're actually calling the value within it. So we are saying 1 plus 2, which will give us 3. Right? So we can also do addition to strings. I think we did that previously when we looked at strings. If you haven't, you can go back to the video and watch that. But we can also add two strings together. And a string is always within quotation marks. It can be single or double quotation marks. But we have string, it is within quotation marks, right? So I'm saying this is my first string and this is the second string, right? And I'm saying add the first string to second string. Now we can see that these are two separate strings because each are in their own. So when we add them, we get a single string in quotation marks. Remember, before they were in their individual quotation marks to denote that these are two separate strings. And we are saying concatenate the string. So when we add the string, it actually concatenates the string into one string. So we're saying add first string to second string. So it has merged the string into one string. Yeah. We can also do the same for lists, right? We've looked at lists before. If you don't know what a list is, you can go back and also look at that. So we have we have two lists here, and we're adding these lists together. So what are we doing? We're trying to merge these two lists together. So when we run this, we do merge them together. So it's a single list now instead of two lists. So those are some nice things you can do with addition. So let's move on to subtraction. Now here again we've assigned 5 to the variable name A, we've assigned 6 to the variable name B. Now this time, instead of using the addition operator, we're going to use the subtraction operator, or the minus sign. So I'm saying B minus A, which is 5, take away 6, right? So what should we get? We get 1. Sorry, it's B minus A, so it's 6 minus 5, because if it was this way we should have gotten negative 1, right? Let's just test that out, because I know we should get negative 1. Let's run that, and we do get negative 1, right? So B minus A will give us 1, so we can leave it like this. So let's move on to subtraction. Oh, it says subtraction. Division. So I've assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values to 5 variable names. So A contains the first one and so on. So what am I saying here? I'm saying I want to divide, let me comment this one out. I want to divide the value in A by B, right? And when we run that, remember A contains this value and B contains this value right here. So when we divide, we get 3, which is right, because 1 goes into 3 times. Let's just try another one. A divided by C, we know A is 3 and we know C is 3. So what is our expected output? Should give us 1, right? So we're getting the right value. And we have something we call a double slash. This is a single slash and this is a double slash. A single slash is our basic division sign, but a double slash is like taking the absolute value or the whole number value and leaving out the decimal part. So we only get whole number and it cuts out the decimal, right? So if there was supposed to be any decimal output between this, we would have sliced it off and it has given us a whole number, right? So when we run this, we still get 1. If there was a decimal value, sliced off. Okay, let's move over to exponentials. Now, we normally say 2 to the power something when we talk of exponentials, and in programming or in Python we use the double asterisk sign, which actually denotes to the power, and we also have a built-in method called power, so a built-in function called power. So pow, not power, pow, but I call it power. So let's run the normal way, the programming of doing exponentials. When we run this, we get 8, right? So let's see if the built-in method works. So instead of having to write a, having to do all of this before coming to write the b, we can just say POW, open your brackets, a first value, b second value. So you're saying that this is my number and this is what I want it to the power of. That's what you're denoting there. Keep that in mind. This is my value and this is what I want you to power it by, or to the power of b, a to the power of b, right? So I want to comment this one out and comment this. When we run that, we should get the same value. Let's clear the output. Then let's run that. We still get the same value 8, so it means that it is working the same way. So it's up to you and your intuition which one you'd like to use, and sometimes depending on your case, yeah, you can decide to use either one. One might actually be more helpful than the other. So let's go to modulus. Modulus actually gives us the remainder, yeah? So when we do a modulus, we are expecting a remainder. So whatever the remainder is what we should get. So let's comment this one out. And let's start from the top. So what are we saying? 3 modulus 4. It should give us 3 because we can't. Yeah, 3 mod 4. No, it'll give us 3. Yeah, because that operation shouldn't function. So our remainder is 3 because 4 can't go into 3. So let's say. So what's our remainder in this one? How about you do this one on your own? Just a minute. So what's our remainder? You guessed it, right? 0. Because 10 mod 2 is actually 0. There's no remainder. 2 goes into 10 whole. So we don't have any remainder left. Okay, let's do the last one. And what's our module? What's our modulus? Output here. And yes, it's 2. Okay, we can also excuse me. We can also use negative numbers to do modulus. So I'm just gonna run that. Just gonna run this right here, which you can see -9, -7, and then both are negative here. So run them one by one. We'll do that. We get 5, which is true. So just uncomment that out. Move down. Run that. We get -5, which is also true. And we run that. We get -2, which is true. Okay, so that's our basic math operators we've seen so far: addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and modulus. Now the last thing I want us to look at are in-place operators. Now what are in-place operators? In-place operators is I think, let me explain it better with the example. Okay, say I wanted to add 2 values together which I've stored here, a and b, which hold these 2 values, and I want to add them together, and I want to not just add them together, but I want to store the addition of what these values do inside another variable name, so that when I call that variable name, it will give me the sum of these two values, right? So I've assigned A 2 and I've assigned B 3. I guess by now you should understand this by now. And what am I saying here? I'm saying that I've declared another variable name here, A, and inside that I'm putting this value in here and I'm adding this value right here to it. So now this variable name A contains 5, right? Don't get confused. So we can use the same variable name multiple times, right? We can use the same variable name multiple times like we've done here. We used A here to assign the value of 2, and we used B to assign the value of 3. Now when we call this variable name A here, it doesn't change the value in A because we are assigning it A, right? So it understands this as a different, it just saves some space in memory. It just reserves some space in memory, right? So it doesn't really take it as anything. It's just a container waiting for something to be put inside. So it doesn't really identify this as this A unless I'm calling the A, right? So we say inside this container, which I've just given a value A, add 2 plus 3. So when I print A, which A do you think I'm actually printing out here? Think about that for a second. Yeah, you guessed it right. We're actually printing out this A, which contains the addition of 2 and 3, right? So when I run that, I do get 5. Yeah. Now, instead of actually writing A is equals to A plus B, sometimes it can get a bit confusing, you know, and there should be a way to really shorten it out so you still get the same output, but in a shorter form. We call that in-place operators. So what does in-place operators mean? It means that before you assign the value, because this is redundant, we leave it as it is and we put our operator before it. So let's comment out this line. Let me zoom in. I think this thing is a bit yeah, I think that's much better. Okay, so this is an in-place operator right here. What am I saying? What's going on right here? All I'm saying is A plus. Does this actually work? Yes, it does work. Because what are we saying? We know that A appears twice, right? As a variable name, as a container holding the addition, and as a variable name holding a value, right? So all I can just say is A plus equals B. That means that A plus, which means that A is equals to A plus B. That's what it's basically saying. I'm going to take that again. This is saying that A is equals to A plus B. Do you see the bounce over before it goes over the assignment key? A is equals to A is assigned to, not equals to. Forgive me. This is an assignment operator. This is equals to. So A is assigned A plus B. That should make perfect sense now. A is assigned the variable name A and we're adding B. So we should get the same output. Let's clear our output here. And as you can see, we've commented this line out, or if you like, we can just delete that line. So you see that we're actually getting the same output. And we run that and we get 5. What are we saying again? A assigned to A plus B. Alright, so we can do the same for using the other basic operators. So we have the same thing here, but with we are multiplying. So what are we saying? A assigned the value of A times B. A assigned value of A times B. And when we print that, we should get 6, because 2 times 3 is 6. We can also divide using the assignment operator. So we get 0.66666, which is right. You can test it out yourself and see, and assignment operators really reduces the complexity of your code, because as you could see A is equals to A times, and it was a bit confusing sometimes. So when you use Inplace Operators, it really minimizes your code and it makes it a bit more efficient when you understand exactly what you're doing. So this wraps up the end of operations. I hope you guys enjoy the series. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.